My name is Paul Stewart. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Worthington Aviation / Worthington MRO. And I'm going to be talking a little bit today about incorporating your quality procedures into Quantum. Before we get started, I want to make a mention about the surveys. You heard that in the breakfast. Does everybody have a survey? Is there anybody that doesn't have a survey? If you don't have a survey, please raise your hand and we'll get one to you. There's a couple over here. Make sure that you fill them out because this is a ticket to a good prize. I do believe you have to be present to get the prize, and that's going to be done on Friday at the close of business. There's a couple more over here, Dan. All right. Worthington Aviation is a U.S. Minnesota-based company specializing in corporate, regional, and commercial aircraft fleets. We have facilities in Brisbane, Australia, Pompano Beach, Florida, Eagan, Minnesota, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Our newest addition is an FAA-certified repair station in Tulsa, Oklahoma that specializes in composite structure repair and support programs. Feel free to visit us online. You can go to waveparts.com or worthingtonav.com. And some of you guys are already doing business with us. We appreciate that. In this session, we're going to look at a few ways to incorporate some quality checks and balances into your daily activities. We're going to see how we can use existing Quantum features to manage some quality escapes. And we're going to look at a few ways to track and manage vendor performance. And we're going to review the use of Contact Manager to run your quality audits. Quality programs in general, just by their nature, they're broad. They're diverse, and every business is slightly different, but they are important. In this presentation, I want to touch on some quality elements applicable to most companies. I'm not going to touch on everything in Quantum. There's way too much to talk about. But what I want to do is kind of give you some ideas on what's there so that you're comfortable investigating other options and things further to see what you can come up with. You have to think outside the box a little bit and put it to work for you. Here's one of the most important things, in my opinion, about quality programs, is having standardized procedures, repeatable procedures. You've got to be able to do the same thing over and over, regardless of what type of transaction it is, as much as possible. Why? Because you minimize your mistakes. You maximize the opportunity to identify problems. Those are the quality escapes. At Worthington, we take a preventative approach. We document our processes. We flow them out. We understand the process and the procedure in order to accomplish a transaction. And then we identify those potential areas where quality escapes might occur. Then, when we identify those areas, we try to build in things into the system that might alert us, that might trigger us, or that might stop us from doing things wrong, or identifying potential problems with a transaction or a part. This is all part of our ASA and ISO certification manuals. So I don't know, some companies do this, some companies don't. When you get into the process flow type of areas, at first it's a little cumbersome. You got to figure out how to do it, get a feel for how it works. But once you get it down and you get good at it, you can whip out a process flow in a matter of 15, 20 minutes if you understand how business is running or the transactions are running through your business. We're going to look at some receiving quality checks and features. We're going to take a look at some inventory quality related features, some shipping quality related features. We're going to delve into a little bit of the company management options and take a look at some custom vendor part number and serial number quality measurements that we deploy at Worthington. And we're going to take a look at contact management to kind of bring it all together. Now, I'm sure that there are some people in here that are disappointed I'm not talking about shop control or work order, repair stations, that kind of thing. I only have a limited amount of time to talk about this, but I chose these topics specifically because they apply to virtually all businesses, including repair stations. Repair stations ship, repair stations receive, repair stations have inventory, and things like that. So there's still value here for you, and I want you to take a look at what's going to be presented and then investigate ways and techniques to apply to your repair station. We have a repair station too, and almost all of these things are deployed in our repair station. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is receiving. That's access through the forklift icon. And you can see here that the receiving module allows you to receive purchase orders, work orders, repair orders, sales orders, lot items, shipment transfers, remote inventory, stock activity, and the CW here allows you to create work orders if you don't know, if you don't have the receiver already or the work order already created. So I had just talked about standardizing the procedures, right? Well, how many of you have the receiving inspection module? Outstanding. So that means the rest of you don't. So probably about 15% of you use the receiving inspection module. The receiving inspection module standardizes your procedures. You don't have to go into the repair order, and then the sales order, and then the purchase order. You go into one module, you have one thing to train on, you have one procedure for all transactions, and you have better security controls, things like that. So the receiving inspection module is a great way to enforce your quality procedures and programs. You can use line item disposition codes to categorize or stage the line items. Here's some examples. You've got corrected condition, damaged, past inspection, life limited, incorrect part number, just a variety of different dispositions that you might assign to a line item. The other thing that it does is it allows you to approve or deny items. Now at Worthington, we don't actually deny items. We bring it all the way through the approval process. We want to record that vendor return effectively so that we can measure performance. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Now there's some newer things that have come out in the receiving inspection module that allow you to deny stuff and still handle that vendor return elegantly. But you know, things like disposition codes can really drive reports and statuses. I don't know how many of you have seen my lectures in the past about inventory auditing, and I made it a point back then to talk about letting quantum drive the process, but not necessarily define it. And that's what those disposition codes and status codes and things like that can do. That's why they're there. They're not there to just give it some kind of name. It's a trigger, it's an action. It's something that you can report on. So use it that way, use it effectively. One of the things I really love about the receiving inspection module is that it allows you to print a quality document. It's not the same as a receiver document. A quality document can be printed before the receipt occurs. At Worthington, we modified our quality document and we've brought in a variety of different information. One of the things that we do, let me describe our receiving process. Part comes in the door, it gets opened up, and the paperwork is reviewed. There's an initial inspection for damage and things like that by our clerks. Okay, they're not the A&P mechanics. They will photograph the parts, they'll enter it into the system, and then they will print this QC document, or this QA document. They do that because I've built into this document all of these little electronic alerts right here. Okay, I call these my electronic Kanbans. You can see here I've got stuff that's electrostatic, I've got condition code alerts, hazmat, customer property, PMA, BR, part number mismatch, all of these different things. How can I have those alerted? Because I'm capturing that data. What happens when you receive a repair order that's been modified, right? It has a different part number. So I want to bring those kinds of things to the attention of my receiving clerks and my QC inspectors, because those are the things that they're inspecting. If you don't put that information in front of them, how are they possibly going to know to inspect it? Magically? So, and you can build in alerts for anything you want. You just have to kind of figure out what's important to your company and look at the data elements. If something is a little bit different than what it should be in the data, throw the alert. These things are not really complicated. And I'll show you, I'm actually going to show you some code to make some of this happen here in a little bit. We also modified the document to include a received by and inspected by stamp. Now, why do I care about who's receiving this? I want to know in our company every person along the way who's touching these parts, inbound and outbound. I'm not talking about the order overall. I want to know part by part by part who's touching this stuff. And it's not because we're trying to police people, we're trying to hold them accountable and get them in trouble. It's training opportunity. There could be explanation. There could be good reason why things happen. So in order to do that, you have to understand who's touching these parts, and it might not be the same person that's logged into the system. So we issue stamps that are controlled through our quality program, and we have two different types of stamps. One's for our warehousing staff, and one is for our inspectors, who are A&P mechanics. The other thing that we do in the receiving side is, this was probably one of the most productive things we did on our receiving in 10 years at Worthington. And it is amazingly simple. It's one of those kind of things that, why didn't I think of that, right? Why didn't it happen before? So I was analyzing our receiving procedure, and I'm looking at our inspectors, and they're running back to the cabinet and pulling out repair orders, or they're pulling out sales orders, or things like that relative to this part that they're trying to inspect. And I asked them, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And they said, well, I have to know what what our repair administrator told the repair station to do to this part, so that when it comes in, I understand what I'm supposed to be inspecting. And I thought to myself, well, that's kind of unproductive. Why don't the information's in the system? Why not pull it into the QC document, put it right in front of them, so that they don't have to go anywhere? So that's what we did. We actually pull in repair order header notes, detail notes, and things like that. If it's a sales order, I pull in those notes. If it's a purchase order, I pull in those notes. So I don't have to have copies of orders. I don't have to have people running back and forth to file cabinets. I don't have to, none of that. The system, if we're recording it already, why in the world can't you pull it in anywhere along your process, right? That's a quality enhancement, I'll call it. You're getting the information in front of the inspectors when they need it and where they need it.